Hey, fourth grade, welcome back. I am very excited for this video because we're going to be doing my favorite part of the writing process, revising. Remember, good writers always make their writing even stronger by going back and refining their writing, making it even more clear, specific, and interesting. Today we're going to practice a revising strategy called elaborating. So you can start with me on page 17 of your DCPS Week 6 packet. Let's get started. Here we are on page 17 of our Week 6 packet, and at the top here we can see a paragraph that someone wrote about what geologists do. Let's read this paragraph together. Geologists study the Earth. They study how rocks are formed. They study how rocks change over time. There are many types of geologists. Geologists are important. As someone who's a non-expert, that paragraph really didn't get me excited about geologists in the way that I think the author hoped it would. Let's see what this guy's thinking. This is a pretty boring paragraph, isn't it? Yeah, it's pretty boring. Let's see if we can make it more interesting. I'm going to use the following checklist to help me revise my paragraph. You'll notice that the things on my checklist are all different sentence level activities we have worked on this year. Let's take a look at this revision checklist. The first strategy is to combine sentences. The second is to vary sentence types. So remember, we have 4 types of sentences: statements, exclamations, questions, and commands. We can use a different one. Third is to use transitions, one of my favorite revision strategies. And the fourth is to give examples. So our friend is going to apply these 4 strategies in order to elaborate his paragraph and make it more interesting. Let's see how he goes about this. Here on page 18, we can see this author's strategy to elaborate each sentence in his original paragraph. So our table here has 3 columns. First, our basic old sentences that we got from our first draft of our paragraph. Second, our strategies for elaborating. Those are coming from our checklist. And third, our elaborated new sentences. So let's see how each sentence goes from basic to elaborated. So our first sentence, geologists study the Earth. There are many different ways that authors can elaborate the sentence to make it more interesting. We know that it's especially important for our topic sentence to be interesting because it's the first opportunity we have to capture our reader's attention. This author chose to vary their sentence type by making this an exclamation. We can also turn our topic sentence into a question. That's another strategy. So our elaborated new sentence with that varied sentence type is: geologists have the incredibly important job of studying the Earth. So not only did we elaborate with an exclamation, but we also added in some vocabulary to get our reader excited about this topic. Now, let's look at these next 2 basic sentences. They study how rocks are formed, and they study how rocks change over time. It's a little choppy, we can see in our elaboration strategy. So we're going to combine these 2 sentences, put them together using the linking word and. So rather than these 2 basic old sentences, we have an elaborated new sentence. They study rocks and minerals and how they are formed and change over time. Sometimes having 1 strong sentence is much better for our final piece of writing than having 2 less strong sentences. So this combining strategy is very important. Let's look at our third. There are many types of geologists. This doesn't give me too much information about what types of geologists exist, so I can add some examples. So rather than just saying there are many types, I'm going to give examples. There are many different types of geologists. For example, some geologists study fossils, while others study structures on the Earth's surface, like mountains and riverbeds. Wow, I got a lot more information after getting those examples. And finally, our conclusion sentence: geologists are important. One strategy that we love to use is to add in one of our conclusion transition words. I am going to use a transition to connect my paragraph with the concluding sentence and add an explanation why. So we get our elaborated new CS. Therefore, geologists are certainly important since they are constantly learning about the Earth. So we can see that we started with this pretty basic, boring paragraph, but when we used our revision strategies, we got a much more detailed, interesting, and engaging paragraph that communicates this information more effectively to our reader. Now, we're going to try this elaboration strategy with another paragraph on our own. Okay, here we are on page 19 of our packet. So our task to practice the skill of elaborating to revise sentences is to revise the paragraph below using the following guidance. So our packet has given us this guidance in order to support us in this revision. So 4 different tasks we can do to make this paragraph stronger are to add examples of quick movements in the Earth, use a transition, combine the second and third sentences using the conjunction but and add detail, and finally, to vary the sentence types. Again, we have our revision checklist that outlines these 4 different strategies we know. Here is the paragraph that we are going to be elaborating. Let's read it together. The Earth changes. The Earth and its layers can move very slowly. There are also quick movements in the Earth. Erosion is an example of the Earth changing slowly. Volcanic eruptions can occur very quickly. These are some of the ways the Earth changes. So again, this paragraph is fine. Everything that's stated in here is true. But is it very interesting to read? I didn't think so. Luckily, we have all of this information here to guide us in making this writing stronger. So we are going to use a similar strategy that we saw in our exemplar by creating a table here where we have our basic old sentence. We're going to identify our strategy for elaborating and supply an elaborated new sentence. So this is something you can do on any piece of scratch paper you have available. What we're going to do is take each sentence within our paragraph and rewrite it in one of the spots available here in our table for basic old sentence. So here's my table. I have each sentence from my paragraph for a basic old sentence, and I also have included on the slide here our guidance of how we can make our writing stronger, which you can find on page 19. So what we're going to do is work through each sentence, choose an elaboration strategy, and write our elaborated new sentence. Notice right here, we have the word exemplar. Exemplar means an example, a model for what your writing should look like. So my exemplar is here to guide you, to help you understand what these different strategies look like in practice. But you all are creative and amazing writers, and I'm certain that you can think of even stronger sentences than the exemplar sentences here. So I challenge you to push yourself to use these strategies, but still maintain your unique voice as a writer. Okay, let's get started. So we're going to start with our basic old sentence, the Earth changes. Oh, yikes. We know that our TS is the most important sentence because it's the first thing, the first opportunity we have to get our writer excited about our work, to get our audience on the same page as us and make them excited to keep reading. And the Earth changes is just not going to cut it. So let's look down at our strategies for elaborating. For my exemplar, I'm going to vary the sentence type. So I know I have 4 sentence types. Right now, the Earth changes is a statement. So I'm going to change this to either a question, an exclamation, or a command. I know that asking a question is a great way to start a paragraph because it really draws my reader in. So I'm going to go ahead and convert this sentence into my elaborated new sentence that is a question. How does the Earth change? Now, For our second and third sentences, we're going to consider these together because both of these sentences are pretty choppy. And we also know in our guidance, we have this recommendation to combine these two sentences using the conjunction but. So I'm remembering that the conjunction but is a change of direction. These two sentences are stating different things. They're making different points about the speed at which the Earth changes. So the conjunction but works here. We're remembering that we use a comma after our first phrase before our but. So when we put them together, it'll look something like this. The Earth and its layers can move very slowly, but there are also quick movements in the Earth. This elaborated new sentence is much more concise and states these ideas in a way where we know we have a change of direction. Great. Our next sentence we're looking at, erosion is an example of the Earth changing slowly. What is a way, looking at our guidance, that we can make this sentence even stronger? We can use a transition phrase. Actually, I see a word from a transition phrase right here in my sentence. So rather than saying erosion is an example, I can change this to include a transition word and say, for example, erosion changes the Earth extremely slowly. Looking at our next sentence, volcanic eruptions can occur very quickly. How can we make this sentence even stronger? We're going to use two of our elaboration strategies on this sentence because now we are elaboration experts. First, we'll add an example of quick movements in the Earth, and second, we'll use a transition phrase. I chose on the other hand to indicate a change in direction. Volcanic eruptions and earthquakes can occur very quickly. Finally, we have our concluding statement. What's a way that we can start a concluding statement in a stronger manner? We can use our transition phrase. Remember, we need to pick a conclusion phrase that indicates to our reader we're wrapping our paragraph up. One example is therefore. Therefore, the Earth can change both slowly and quickly. You can notice I changed the content of my conclusion sentence as well to make it more specific to the topic of this paragraph. So notice, after going through each sentence, we used all of our elaboration strategies and we produced a stronger paragraph. We started here and we developed our paragraph here. You can use these strategies when revising your own writing to make your writing more clear, more interesting, and more developed. Remember, good writers are never finished. They always take opportunities to make their writing even better.